Hello and welcome everyone on this official platform of Legacy IAS Academy. So today in this session we are going to discuss the UPSC 2024 GS paper 1 and the topics modern history, world history and art and culture. So we are going to discuss the questions and we'll try to understand the weightage of history this year in mains examination. जैसा कि हम सभी को पता है कि रिसेंटली अभी यूपीएससी मेंस एग्जामिनेशन हुआ फ्राइडे सैटरडे एंड संडे एंड जीएस पेपर 1, 2, 3 एंड 4 ये सारे ही जीएस पेपर हो गए हैं एंड ऑल द जीएस सब्जेक्ट्स विल बी डिस्कस्ड बाय our respective faculties. So in this session I am going to discuss the questions from modern history, world history as well as art and culture. So let's try to understand the weightage this year in UPSC examination. So there are total 6 questions which UPSC has asked in mains examination GS paper 1 this year. So as you can see here that there are 3 questions from art and culture. So 3 questions पूछे गए हैं art and culture से. Then 2 questions from modern history. 2 questions from modern history and 1 question from world history. Yes, total 6 questions in GS paper 1. हालांकि अगर हम इस साल का पेपर देखें तो comparatively to past years, this year UPSC has asked straightforward questions from history. Clear? So बिल्कुल भी difficult नहीं है इस साल के questions को आंसर करना and जितना भी अगर क्लास आपने रेगुलरली की है तो आप आसानी से इस पेपर को सॉल्व कर सकते हैं. Clear? Now, so the first question which UPSC has asked that is related to Vedic culture. Okay? बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स कंफ्यूज हो जाते हैं सर एंशिएंट हिस्ट्री मेंस का पार्ट नहीं है. यस, बट एंशिएंट कल्चर इज पार्ट ऑफ योर मेंस एग्जामिनेशन. क्लियर? सो विद रेस्पेक्ट टू ancient art and culture, they have asked underline the changes, as you can see here, underline the changes in the field of society and economy. Now try to understand, there are 2 keywords, field of society and economy from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period. Yes, क्वेश्चन बहुत ही सिंपल है, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड है. सिंपली आपको क्या करना है, यू नीड टू undermine the changes. That means you have to tell the changes. What are the changes from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period? So what would be the approach of this question? So let me tell you, approach would be, first of all you have to write the introduction. Introduction would be the significant changes from Rig Vedic period to later Vedic period can be marked as important changes in society as well as economy. Getting my point? From 1500 BC to 1000 BC and then 1000 BC to 600 BC. Getting my point? So introduction इसका बहुत ही easy रहेगा and you should write introduction within 30 words only, not more than that. Then body of the answer. Clear? Now what would be the body of the answer? Now as you can see here that now, as you can see here, what are the changes in society from Rig Vedic to later Vedic age? अब society में क्या क्या changes आए? So first, you need to understand social stratification. Yes, it was the first significant change. Now, how social stratification? If you see Rig Vedic society was egalitarian in nature. Egalitarian because it was a tribal society. It was a clan-based society and everyone was equal. Getting my point? And the society of later Vedic period was complex in nature. Complex society in later Vedic period. Now, complex society based on Varna system, based on ashram system, based on Gotra system. Getting my point? So complex Varna system was created in later Vedic society like Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas and Shudras. Second important thing which you can explain here is with respect to society, status of women. Yes, status of women. Now what was the status of women? Now if you see in Rig Vedic period, the position of women was equal to men. Clear? Women used to perform rituals. Women were also allowed for right to education. Getting my point? Various women scholars were there in Rig Vedic period like Lopamudra, clear, Gargi, all these scholars were there. But in later Vedic period, the status of women got subordinated. Getting my point? So, though in Rig Vedic period also patriarchal society was there, but still the position of women was favorable. Clear? So, this was the change came in later Vedic period. And women were not allowed to take education in later Vedic period. Even they were not allowed to perform Vedic rituals. Clear? Then the third important thing is family structure. Yes, family structure. Now what was the family structure in Rig Vedic period? There was a concept of nuclear families. Kind of nuclear families in Rig Vedic period because tribal society hai, clan based society. So nuclear family concept, small families were there. But with respect to later Vedic period, the family structure was changed. Now what was the family structure in later Vedic period? Joint family structure. So rise of joint family structure. Clear? Then education. Now with respect to education, what were the changes in society? In Rig Vedic period, education was based on oral tradition. Oral tradition, which is also called as Shruti tradition. Shruti tradition. But in later Vedic period, education system in the sense formal setup came. Later Vedic period में कैसा आ गया? In later Vedic period, formal educational setup. Now, example, rise of Gurukuls. So this was the change in society from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period. Getting my point? Now, another thing which you need to mention with respect to economy. Yes, economy. Now, what were the changes in economy from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period? Mode of production was changed. Getting my point? Mode of production was changed. Now, how mode of production? If you see economy of Rig Vedic period, so Rig Vedic period economy was pastoral economy. Pastoral economy, or you can say subsistence economy. Subsistence economy. Getting my point? Later Vedic period, settled agriculture was started. Settled agriculture. This was the change. Now, how this change came? If you see the time period of Rig Vedic and later Vedic period, now 1500 BC to 1000 BC, this is the time period of Rig Vedic age, and from 1000 BC to 600 BC, this is the time period of later Vedic age. Getting my point? So what was the change in 1000 BC? And the change was discovery of iron. Iron की discovery हुई, and because of that iron, because iron is a hard metal, so agricultural tools were created which helped in terms of clearing the forest in North India. That means expansion was started and agriculture came. So here, because of discovery of iron, it resulted into agricultural tools, and because of this agricultural economy was started. So here people started living a settled life. Clear? Then occupation. What was the occupation in Rig Vedic period? They were the tribals who always moved from one place to other. Cattle was their most important wealth. Here occupation in later Vedic period. Ab later Vedic period mein kya hoga? Occupation. Different occupations will be there. So the most important occupation was agriculture. Then with agricultural economy, different professions will also come, like weaving, weaving, like another occupation, ironsmith, ironsmith, other craftsmen. Getting my point? So these were the things. Clear? Now, another important thing, land ownership. Now in Rig Vedic period, because tribal peoples were there, getting my point? So common ownership of land was there. In Rig Vedic period, in Rig Vedic period, common ownership was there. In later Vedic period, private ownership was there. Private property का concept आ जाएगा, because here land will become the most important part of wealth. So in later Vedic period, private ownership. Clear everyone? Now, apart from this, trade and commerce. Now, what was the mode of trade or exchange in Rig Vedic period? Barter system. Barter system was there in Rig Vedic period. Getting my point? But in later Vedic period, beginning of internal trade because of different professions. कैसे? Agriculture was the most important part of wealth. So rich farmers were there and they need different crafts, different products. So demand will be there from this rich merchants, and the demand will be fulfilled by these people like weavers, like ironsmith. Getting my point? So demand and supply concept aa gaya tha, and that is why you will see beginning of internal trade. So here in later Vedic period, you will see uses of precious metals and coins like nishk, Nishk, nishka. Getting my point? So these were the changes in society and economy from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period. Clear? So overall you can conclude these things, that these significant changes from Rig Vedic to later Vedic period resulted into the birth of kingdoms, because in later Vedic period Janpad system was started. Getting my point? And Rig Vedic period tribal oligarchies was there. Clear? So this is how you should write this question. I hope this much is clear to all of you. Now another question. Now let's try to understand another questions. Now this question is related to art and culture. Yes. अब इस बार यूपीएससी ने आर्ट एंड कल्चर में बहुत ही अच्छे क्वेश्चंस पूछे विद रेस्पेक्ट टू पल्लवा आर्किटेक्चर, चोलाज. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? सो दे हैव आस्क्ड, एंड देन वैदिक पीरियड. सो दिस इज द सेकंड क्वेश्चन विद रेस्पेक्ट टू आर्ट एंड कल्चर. नाउ so first try to understand what is the question here. So as you can see here, the question, estimate the contribution of Pallavas of Kanchi for the development of art and literature of South India. Yes. So here question is asking contribution of Pallavas with respect to development of art and literature of South India. So here most important keyword is which you need to focus, contribution of Pallavas with respect to architecture as well as literature. Getting my point? So with respect to architecture, so first you have to write, so what would be the approach of this question? So approach would be, first you have to write introduction. Now what would be the introduction? So you can start simply that the Pallavas of Kanchi, they started ruling around from 3rd century AD till 9th century AD, and they have made significant contribution with respect to art and architecture as well as literature in the region of South India, which has created a kind of unique cultural landscape. Clear? So in this way you can write the introduction. Then you have to write the body of the answer. Now what are the contribution in terms of art and architecture? So the first contribution here is rock cut architecture. Now अगर आपने thoroughly ध्यान से चीजों को पढ़ा है, so Pallavas, they are known for the you can say evolution of Dravida style of temple architecture. So there are different groups. Getting my point? Like Mahendra Varman group, Narsimha Varman group. So they have started. They have created their different temple styles. Getting my point? So initially they have started rock cut architecture. Like the architecture was like this. So only mandapas were there. Getting my point? Only mandapas were there. This belongs to Narsimha Varman group. Getting my point? So mandap system, these things were started. Now with respect to rock cut architecture, so here you can see the cave architecture, cave temple architecture. Now important caves are there. Now अब caves कहाँ पर हैं जो इस चीज को substantiate करें? Like there is a place called as Mahendravidu. Mahendravidu. Now Mahendravidu or Mahendrawadi, you can say there is one more name, Mahendrawadi. So Mahendrawadi caves are very important which substantiate this time period जहां पर rock cut cave architecture शुरू हुआ था. Clear? Then Mandagapattu, another place of rock cut style architecture. Now the most important temple with respect to this rock cut architecture you will find in Mahabalipuram. Yes, Mahabalipuram. Mahabalipuram. So Mahabalipuram, which is considered as most important temple town of Pallavas, getting my point? And here you will find the rock cut architecture like Pancharath, Pancharathas. Getting my point? So these things you have to explain. Then with respect to structural temples, yes, because of Pallavas evolution of Dravida style of temple architecture, like as you can see here, Vimans. Getting my point? Vimans, temple tower. Then mandaps, large pillared halls. Then apart from this, large gopurams, that means decorated gateways. Getting my point? So these things were contributed by Pallavas. So Pallavas has made different, you can say distinct contribution with respect to temple architecture, and because of Pallavas, evolution of Dravida style of temple architecture. Now apart from this, their contribution with respect to sculpture, yes, their contribution with respect to sculpture is also very important because they have developed distinct style of sculptures like portrait of kings, then famous lion pillars of Pallavas. So these things are very important, so you can mention these things in your answer. Then contribution with respect to literature, yes, now they have significant contribution with respect to Sanskrit and Tamil literature. Now when we say Sanskrit and Tamil literature, so one of the Pallava ruler whose name was Mahendra Varman first, Mahendra Varman first has significantly contributed in terms of Sanskrit play. एक बहुत ही famous play इन्होंने लिखा है, Matta Vilasa Prahasana. He has written the most famous play, Matta Vilasa Prahasana. Clear? Then with respect to Tamil literature, at the same time period, Bhakti movement was started in South India with respect to Alvards and Nayanars. So Nayanars has contributed, they have written their literature called as Tevaram in Tamil language. Tevaram. This is the literature of Nayanar saint. Clear? In Tamil language. Now apart from this, inscriptions and script, yes, Pallavas inscriptions are found on the walls of the temples. Clear? Then copper plates, etc. So these are the contributions of Pallavas. So therefore we can say Pallavas has facilitated a kind of cultural synthesis, and this blended the North Indian as well as South Indian traditions in art and architecture. Even if you see modern times, modern contribution of Pallavas, because of their contribution, Mahabalipuram and other sites are recognized as UNESCO World Heritage sites. So I hope this much is clear to all of you. So this is how you should conclude your answer. Getting my point? Clear? Now, another important question, that is third question, and this question is related to modern history. अब modern history से related कौन कौन सी चीजें पूछी गई हैं? So let's try to understand. बहुत ही simple question पूछा है इस बार UPSC ने. And also one, if you have any doubt, you can kindly post it in the doubt section. Getting my point? And with respect to Legacy IAS Academy courses, you can visit our website legacyisacademy.com. Clear? Now, so the third important question, it is related to Quit India movement. अब ये question बिल्कुल straight forward इस बार UPSC ने पूछ दिया है. So what were the events that led to Quit India movement? Point out its result, and you have to write in 150 words. Simple सा question UPSC ने इस बार ये पूछा है with respect to Quit India movement. Now what are the events that resulted into Quit India movement? Quit India movement is one of the biggest movement. Okay, सबसे ज़्यादा mass participation था इस movement में, and it is the movement where Gandhi was seen in a different mood. It is written in Bipin Chandra. Getting my point? So this movement is considered as one of the most important movements. सबसे ज़्यादा mass participation and participation from all class, it was there. Getting my point? So basically, what are the events which led to Quit India movement? Failure of August Hopper and Cripps mission. Yes, August Hopper and Cripps mission was sent to because Britishers wanted to take the support of Indians in Second World War, because at the same time Second World War was started. Now Indian leaders were not satisfied with the provisions of August Hopper and Cripps offer. Why? Because Britishers were willing to give dominion status after the Second World War, but already in 1930, Indian leaders, INC, that means Indian National Congress, have adopted for Purna Swaraj resolution. Getting my point? तो अब इंडिया की डिमांड चेंज हो चुकी थी पूर्ण स्वराज रेजोल्यूशन, एंड जो भी उन्हें चाहिए था, एट द सेम टाइम दे वांटेड टू टेक दैट पूर्ण स्वराज रेजोल्यूशन, पूर्ण स्वराज फ्रॉम ब्रिटिश. दैट मीन्स इंडियाज डिमांड ड्यूरिंग दिस टाइम पीरियड वाज कंप्लीट इंडिपेंडेंस. इस समय इंडिया की डिमांड क्या थी? कंप्लीट इंडिपेंडेंस. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? So failure of August Hopper and Cripps mission. Then impact of Second World War. Yes, Second World War has been started on 3rd of September 1939. Getting my point? And without the consultation from Indian leaders, Britishers has announced that British India is going to support the Allied powers against the Axis powers or fascist powers. That is why Congress ministry has been resigned. Getting my point? So impact of Second World War. So because of the Second World War, Japanese invasion. So in 1941, what happened is Japan ने क्या किया? Japan ने Pearl Harbor पर हमला कर दिया. Getting my point? So Japan invaded Pearl Harbor, which resulted into the US participation in Second World War. That is why United States of America had to participate in Second World War. Now, Japanese wanted to enter into India from the side of Northeast. They have already captured various areas in Southeast Asia like Singapore, Burma, and they were planning to invade Britishers from Northeast part of India. So the fear of Japanese invasion was there, and that has created impatience among Indian leaders. Getting my point? So that was the main reason that All India Congress Committee, they passed Quit India movement resolution on 8th of August 1942. एंड इसीलिए ब्रिटिशर्स इसीलिए बिपिन चंद्रा ने क्या लिखा? दैट ऑन 8th of August 1942 Gandhi was seen in different mood. Why? Because when this resolution was passed, British came to know and British arrested all the important leaders. Gandhi, Nehru, everyone. So जब गांधी जी को लेके जाया जा रहा था, then people of India, they asked that now what should we do? Then Gandhi gave a slogan, do or die. That is why this was the movement where you can see the character. Gandhi was in different mood and people used violence in this movement. Getting my point? Now this question has also asked the point out the results, point out its result. तो अब results क्या क्या है? This movement has demonstrated the strength and also reach of Indian nationalism on a larger scale. So this was large pan-India movement. Large pan-India movement, you have to write. Then this movement actually weakened the British control over India, particularly in rural areas. Getting my point? Then third, this movement convinced actually British that their rule in India now unsustainable. क्योंकि इवन इंडियन आर्मी जो थी वो ब्रिटिशर्स के अगेंस्ट में आगे थी. दैट इज वाई द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट एग्जांपल फॉर्मेशन ऑफ INA, क्लियर, इंडियन नेशनल आर्मी और आजाद हिंद फौज. देन this movement paved the way for the negotiations in post second world war era with respect to India. तो बहुत सारे plans आए है ना, so like Wavell plan, cabinet mission plan, all these things. Then this movement fostered the emergence of new and local leadership across India. Yes, because this movement is unique in character. Why? Because यहाँ पर जितने भी front leaders थे, important leaders, they were arrested by the British. So the two important features in this movement was parallel government and underground movement. Getting my point? These two were important things. तो यहाँ पर second front leader सामने आए, like Ram Manohar Lohia, Usha Mehta, Kriplani. Getting my point? So these are some important things. Then at last you can conclude that how this movement has helped India with respect to the negotiations in post Second World War era. Though the results of this movement was not successful, but it helped in long term events or negotiations. Getting my point? So this is how you can pursue this question. So I hope आप सभी ने ये सारे क्वेश्चन सही से लिखे होंगे एग्जाम में. नाउ नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, नाउ द थर्ड क्वेश्चन, ओके, दिस इज रिलेटेड टू आर्ट एंड कल्चर. तो ये थर्ड क्वेश्चन है आर्ट एंड कल्चर का. मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री का हमने एक डिस्कस किया एंड वी हैव डिस्कस टू क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम आर्ट एंड कल्चर. नाउ द क्वेश्चन, नाउ इफ यू गो थ्रू द क्वेश्चन पेपर of GS paper 1, so you will see that question number 11 in paper, this is question number 11 and this is related to Cholas. Though the great Cholas are no more, yet their name is still remembered. बहुत ध्यान से statement को समझना है. With great pride because of their highest achievement in the domain of art and architecture. Why they are remembered? With respect to art and architecture. So the main context here is art and architecture. Now you have to write this answer into 50 words. So what is the contribution of Cholas? We need to understand. So Cholas has created their legacy not only through their imperial invasions or imperial navy, but also with their art and architectural contributions. Now, as you can see here, what are the Cholas' contribution with respect to art and architecture or art and culture? And these contributions are architectural marvels, arts excellence, artistic excellence, religious significance and modern relevance. क्या है modern relevance? क्यों बताना है? बहुत सारे लोग कंफ्यूज हैं कि सर modern relevance क्यों बताना है? Because as you can see here, the statement Cholas are no more, yet their name is still remembered. Getting my point? So you should tell the modern relevance of Cholas with respect to art and architecture. Now with respect to architectural marvels, so there are various things which Cholas has constructed, like Brihadeshwara temple. Brihadeshwara temple. Now this Brihadeshwara temple, which is constructed by Raja first Chola, this temple showcases the architectural excellence. What are the innovative features of this temple? The most important innovative feature is its Vimana. Vimana means temple tower. Yes, Vimana, temple tower. Second important thing is Gopuram, elaborated gateways. Gopuram, elaborated gateways of this temple. Getting my point? Expanded, Cholas have expanded their entrance gateways. Now apart from this, their construction excellence is still there. precision, clear, massive, based on massive scale, you can see the intricate sculpture. So these things are there. Second, excellence art. Artistic excellence was there during the time period of Cholas. अब कैसे? So कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमें पता चलनी चाहिए, like you can mention in your answers excellence art with respect to Chola sculpture. Chola sculpture. Example, Nataraja. Nataraja sculpture, bronze sculpture. Getting my point? Chola bronze is famous for Nataraja sculpture. Getting my point? And this is known for world-renowned craftsmanship. Second is painting. Yes, paintings. Chola's ruler, they have used fresco style mural painting in Brihadeshwara temple. Getting my point? And third important thing with respect to literature. Yes, third important with respect to literature. Literature का क्या है? The most famous book of Shaivite, and the name of that book is Tirumurai. Getting my point? So during the time period of Cholas, Tirumurai was compiled, which is the literature of Shaivites. This much is clear to all of you. तो ये Shaivite literature है, and this was compiled during the time period of Cholas. Clear? Now another important thing here is you can mention religious significance or cultural significance. अब Cholas का religious और cultural significance क्या है? The most important thing here is Chola temples. Yes, we cannot neglect Chola temples, which are very important. Like Chola's temples were the centers of learning, art, getting my point, trade and commerce, community, everything. Apart from this, you can mention with respect to religious significance, artistic representations. Artistic representations. Now with respect to artistic representations, like paintings of deities, paintings of mythological scenes. Getting my point? So these things are there in Chola's temple. So these things are having cultural and religious contribution, or you can say cultural and religious significance of Cholas. Clear? Now with respect to modern times, modern relevance. Now modern relevance is they have contributed with respect to UNESCO World Heritage Site. Getting my point? तो अगर आप देखेंगे with respect to UNESCO World Heritage Site, Brihadeshwara Temple, Gangaikonda Cholapuram, getting my point? Airavateshwara Temple, these sites are UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Apart from this, their influence is still there on modern art and architecture. So, influence on modern art and architecture. So this is how you should write in bullet points. Getting my point? So it continued the legacy of this. Even today, the Tamil architecture, so South India architecture, they have continued the legacy of Cholas. So they have continued South Indian traditions. And because of Cholas, they have created globalized Tamil identity. They have promoted Tamil culture globally. Getting my point? So this is the relevance of Chola's architecture. Clear? So I hope this much is clear, and at last then you conclude that in this way, because the representation or the contribution of Cholas are immense with respect to the field of art and architecture, which can be seen today, and their contribution, their temple architecture, these things have contributed for tourism economy as well, and they have given the unique identity of Tamil culture in globalized world. Getting my point? तो इस तरीके से आप conclude कर सकते हैं अपने आंसर को. Now another question. Now this question is related to world history. अब ये question किससे related है? World history से. How far is it correct to say that First World War was fought essentially for the preservation of balance of power? Getting my point? So this is related to world history. Clear? This is related to world history. So we need to understand, here is question क्या पूछ रहा है, how far is it correct to say that First World War was fought essentially for the preservation of balance of power? Yes, balance of power was the key factor. Remember this thing. तो कैसे लिखोगे? तो पहले तो आप describe कर दो First World War which was started from this and this 1914 to 1918. Getting my point? Then balance of power was one of the key factor which can be seen are as follows. Then you can mention the things in body of the answer. Clear? अब body कैसे लिखना है इस question का? Now try to understand that balance of power was a key factor. Getting my point? अब आपको इसको substantiate भी करना है इस argument को. How balance of power was a key factor. Clear? So the first point that you can mention in this, alliance system. Alliance system. Second, you can mention the goal. What was the goal? Why alliance were created? Alliance were part of balance of power. Goal क्या था? To preserve the dominance of or to prevent the dominance of a single power. Third, आप क्या लिख सकते हैं? Germany's rise. Germany's rise. Because Germany was rising, because rapid industrialization was going on, that became a threat for balance of power, and that was aggressive imperialism of Germany. Getting my point? Then arms race started. Arms race. So these 4 points you have to mention in this. Getting my point? Apart from this, you can also mention other significant causes. Now, what are the other significant causes? Other significant causes. तो other significant causes में क्या लिख सकते हैं? सबसे important cause, imperialism. Imperialism, nationalism, and militarism. Getting my point? Imperialism, nationalism. Imperialism कैसे? Scramble of colonies which created the tensions between important or major powers. Nationalism, rise of nationalism in 19th century. Rise of new industrialized nation like Germany. Germany became nation in 1871. And after that, struggle for resources started. Getting my point? Then militarism, alliances were created, glorification of military strength. And what was the immediate cause? Immediate trigger was the killing of Archduke Ferdinand. Getting my point? Assassination of Archduke Ferdinand. Clear? And that sparked, clear? That spark which ignited the fire in the name of First World War. So you can mention these things like this. Clear? Now this answer should be there in 250 words. So you can mention the way forward as analysis of balance of power. तो एनालिसिस कैसे लिखोगे बैलेंस ऑफ पावर का ही इस क्वेश्चन में? नाउ ट्राई टू अंडरस्टैंड. एनालिसिस ऑफ बैलेंस ऑफ पावर. नाउ हाउ विल यू राइट एनालिसिस ऑफ बैलेंस ऑफ पावर विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस क्वेश्चन? बैलेंस ऑफ पावर क्यों क्रिएट किया गया था? इंटेंट टू प्रिवेंट वॉर. इंटेंट टू प्रिवेंट वॉर. पहला पॉइंट आप ये लिख सकते हैं. क्लियर? सेकेंड, व्हाई नाउ बैलेंस ऑफ पावर फॉर दिस अलायंस सिस्टम वाज क्रिएटेड. अलायंसेस इसीलिए क्रिएट की गई थी ताकि पावर इक्वेशंस सभी नेशंस में इक्वल रहे. एंड द थर्ड, मिलिट्री बिल्डअप. मिलिट्री बिल्डअप. Getting my point? That means it is now military buildup created a climate of fear and suspicion among the powers. Getting my point? And that is why it heightened the likelihood of war. Getting my point? So this is how you should write this answer. I hope this much is clear to all of you. तो कुछ भी यूपीएससी ने आपसे यूनिक नहीं पूछा है, एवरीथिंग इज फ्रॉम योर सिलेबस ओनली, फ्रॉम योर क्लास नोट्स ओनली। गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? अगर आपने क्लासेस ढंग से सुनी है तो बहुत आराम से आप इसको कर सकते हैं। क्लियर? नाउ द लास्ट क्वेश्चन which is asked from history in GS paper 1, that is, how far was the industrial revolution in England responsible for the decline of handicrafts and cottage industries in India? बहुत ही सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन है और ये मैंने हर बार आपको ये चीज बताई हुई है क्लास में भी, when we discuss economic policies of British. So what was the impact of industrial revolution on India? So these things we have already discussed. So first you have to write the introduction. Getting my point? That industrial revolution which was started in England from 1750 till 1850, and based on this the economic phases in India like mercantile capitalism, commercial capitalism, and last financial capitalism. Getting my point? So this is how you should start your answer. So body में आप क्या लिखेंगे? Impact. What were the impact on handicrafts or handicraft and cottage industry? So the first important thing that we need to understand, technological advancement. Yes, now technological advancement, ब्रिटेन में क्या हो रहा था? मैकेनाइजेशन was going on in England. Clear? That means that resulted into machine made goods. Clear? Machine made goods came. Clear? Mass production हो रहा था at lower cost. Then when they started producing, then they started exporting to India. अब इंडिया में आएगा. So local industries unable to compete, that resulted into the decline of India's local or traditional industries. Clear? इससे क्या होगा? इंडियन इंडस्ट्रीज जो ट्रेडिशनल इंडस्ट्रीज थी उनके लिए कंपटीशन आ जाएगा. Competition was started. Getting my point? So because of this, loss of market share for Indian handicraft. Earlier, during the time period of Mughals, clear, Indian goods were exported to Europe. वहां के लोग Indian goods पहनते थे. Getting my point? Indian textiles were there. तो इससे किसको असर पड़ेगा? Indian industries. Then colonial policies. Now Britishers, they started capturing the kingdoms of powerful rulers, like they have started various policies, subsidiary alliance, doctrine of lapse. Because of these policies, Indian rulers lost their kingdoms. So when Indian rulers lost their kingdoms, the important industries of Indian rulers started declining, which resulted or which created unemployment and poverty. Clear? And later you will see facilitation of British goods. Then Britishers ने Indian goods को कैसे discourage किया? What they started doing, that for example raw materials from export from India to Britain, clear, at lower cost. That means no custom duty was there. No custom duty on raw materials which were exported from India to Britain. सस्ते में खरीदते थे raw material. Then Indian goods, if Indian goods were exported from India to Britain, अगर Indian goods India से Britain जाएंगे, on those goods high custom duty was there. High custom duty. That means Britishers started or Europeans started discouraging Indian goods in European markets. So Indian craftsmen, they will lost their European market. Getting my point? अब जो ब्रिटेन से गुड आएगा, like finished goods from Britain to India, अब जो ब्रिटेन से गुड आ रहा है, finished goods from Britain to India, no custom duty or very low custom duty. In this way, British products flooded in Indian market. Clear? And because of this thing, dependency, or you can say market disruption was started. Market disruption. अब market disruption कैसे? Because of this, you will see that Indian handicrafts, Indian cottage industries, they will lose their market. Local artisans, they will lose support systems. Getting my point? British goods were flooded in the market, and East India Company have maintained the monopoly in India. Clear? Now, what are the important affected industries that you can mention in your answer? So the most important industry was textile. सबसे ज्यादा कौन सी इंडस्ट्री अफेक्ट हुई इंडिया की? टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री. नाउ सिटीज लाइक ढाका, मुर्शिदाबाद, यहां पर डिक्लाइन होना शुरू हो गया आर्टिजन्स. गेटिंग माय पॉइंट? So earlier Dhaka and Murshidabad were the urban centers, but because of decline in traditional industries, these cities started declining. Getting my point? Then what are the long term consequences? अब long term consequences क्या है? So let's try to understand the long term consequences. Deindustrialization started. Long term consequences, deindustrialization. That means shift from a producer to raw material supplier. पहले हम क्या थे? Producer. अब क्या हो गए? Raw material supplier. Then loss of skills and knowledge. Loss of skills and knowledge. Getting my point? So these points you have to mention. It created unemployment and social upheaval. So in this manner, remember this thing, that Indian industrial revolution of England is responsible in creating or destroying Indian industries, which resulted into deindustrialization, and ultimately it has created poverty and distress. Getting my point? So this is how you should write all these answers. So I hope this much is clear to all of you. Getting my point? So there were 6 questions from history. So we have discussed all the 6 questions from history. That is 3 questions from art and culture, 2 from modern India, and 1 from world history. So I hope आप सभी को समझ में आया होगा. And for other informations like related to our courses, optional subject, you can visit our Legacy IAS Academy YouTube channel as well as Legacy IAS Academy website. Thank you. Thank you so much. Stop.